Wife F my married neighbor and now wants to reconcile for sake of family. 3 kids involved and I feel guilty. What would you do? I found out last week that my wife of 5 years and mother of my 4-year-old son has been cheating on me for the last 3 months with my married neighbor. Whilst trying to fix her phone to work on the cruise that we were on, I happened upon several text messages to and from the guy, including a picture of his dick sent on February 14th. When I confronted her about it, she attempted to lie and say it was just a flirting thing and that she admits to having an emotional affair but that nothing had happened. Her indignant response was that she was always with the kids, so how could I actually do anything? Against my better judgment, I actually started to slightly believe her, but I pressed on and told her that I would pull the records from Verizon and wanted to know what I would find. She then admitted that she was with him, but that was only once. I immediately suspend service on her cell phone so that she can't contact the guy. Needless to say, I was a wreck, and nothing changes a pleasure cruise ship to a floating prison than finding out this news. I went from angry, to sad, to oddly guilty, and back to angry within minutes of each other. I had 3 days left on the cruise and there was no major airline service at any of our ports of call, so I was stuck with her. For some reason I needed to know every single detail, including positions, times, location, etc., etc. I now know that this is apparently normal, but at the time I was questioning why I would put myself through this level of detail. After my continuous barrage of questioning, she finally admitted to it happening 3 times, not just the one, but that all were with protection and always at a hotel. All the while, she is already begging for a second chance for the sake of the family. The family in this instance are my 4-year-old son, 2 older step-kids, and her and I. Fast forward to getting home, I get home and immediately confront the guy. I asked the same questions, admittedly screaming them in the middle of my driveway with a tire iron in hand, and his story mostly matches hers. Finally, could I have gotten to the truth? I tell him that he has to tell his wife, and that my wife would be doing the same if he didn't do it. He tells his wife, but she thinks he's joking and comes over to my house to deliver the mail she was collecting for us. As she walks in the door, I tell her that my wife has something to talk to her about, while I am still seething from talking with the guy. My wife tells her and she goes home crying her eyes out. It's also worth mentioning that my wife was acting as her confidant and friend and advising her what a piece of shit her husband was. Apparently, the husband was having multiple affairs, including the one with my wife. Next day, the scorned wife and I briefly compare notes since she wants to know every detail, as well. Turns out a few inconsistencies, but the most major was that he admitted to not using protection and see inside of her because she said that she couldn't get pregnant. My wife most certainly can get pregnant, as evidenced by my 4-year-old son and 2 miscarriages. Furthermore, I was snipped 2 years ago to prevent any more. Once confronted with this detail, my wife denies it and was actually pissed that I believed him over her. I was actually considering reconciliation up to the point of hearing the last bit, but it's like a switch went off and told me that this was taking a twist towards crazy vile. She is still begging and asking for a second chance for the sake of the family, but I am holding my ground but feel guilty for doing so. My questions to my fellow Redditors: am I wrong for wanting to pull the pin on this marriage and not work it out? There are 3 kids involved that it will likely take an emotional toll on. However, I can't see me ever trusting her again, and that a loveless marriage will only lead to a more unhappy environment than a broken home. She will likely get custody due to me traveling frequently, which I am somewhat okay with. My son adores his mother and, not for all this other insanity, was an otherwise happy marriage. TLDR. My wife F my neighbor and lied when confronted multiple times. She now wants to reconcile for the sake of her and I's 4-year-old and 2 older step-kids. I feel guilty for wanting divorce. What would you do? Update 01. Thank you to everyone that responded. I think I already knew the answer, but I need some affirmation to make sure I wasn't too far off base. I file tomorrow and hoping for an amicable agreement that we can push through uncontested. I am done, and need to focus on healing and being the best dad I can be to my own son. By the way, I just found out the hotel and that she signed for all the rooms. He paid her in cash for the room, but whatever. She denies that too. Update 02. Just had another discussion with her. She is open to an amicable divorce and does not want to contest as long as she keep joint custody. Still keeping a lawyer on standby in case she decides otherwise. In her words, "I've been to divorce court before. I know I'm effed, so let's do this the easy way." Thanks again everyone for your support and advice. Update 03. Thanks again to everyone, and I apologize if I didn't respond to some of you. I honestly didn't expect this level of response. Have to get some work done, but I'll check in around lunchtime. Update 04. I'm getting some feedback about me suspending the cell, and I guess I should explain my reasoning. I did not suspend the service to punish her. Given the lies up to that point, I wanted to prevent the two from getting their story straight until I confronted him directly. Furthermore, I wanted my hands on that phone since it was the only evidence I had at that point. Immediately upon our return, I gave her another phone with a new number. She also had full use of my phone and the ship's phone during this time. All I can say is that my action should not be a reflection of how our relationship was up to that point. The very foundation of our relationship was complete trust. I had never even given her phone a second glance to that point, and the only reason I was even looking at it was because it wasn't working. We knew each other's passwords to everything and often shared email, Facebook, IM accounts, everything. If a few people still think I'm some kind of control freak, then I guess I'll live with that label. Update 05. For all those suggesting it, I am not currently interested in starting an open marriage or swinger lifestyle. Thanks for the suggestions though. I am sure that kind of thing works for some people, but I'm not that guy.